Alright guys, we got a special edition of Time to Buy with Zach. It's all Copper Age, so stay tuned.
Yeah.
Welcome back, gamers, to another incredible, exciting, fantastic episode of Comic Games! And if you're new to the show, I'm Adam.
I'm Zach, and this is Princess Roy Hines, looking very lovely today, just like usual, doing that princess way, so bow down and respect. And there's Coco, too.
She's hiding. Yeah, she's down there.
She's a hiding.
Alright guys, so today is Saturday, and we are on a new journey of mixing up our episodes a little bit. So things are, if you're used to seeing certain episodes on certain days, things are going to change around here a little bit because we had some mighty fine success doing the live show, and I think we're going to go forward with that a little bit. So going forward, Saturday is going to be Time to Buy with Zach, and then Monday is going to be the drop list, and then Wednesday will be our live shows, which was going to be new comic book day, so we can share, more importantly, the new comic days the same day we got them, and also mystery boxes. So any mystery boxes we get, we'll be opening live with you guys. You can see our first-hand live reactions to these mystery boxes. It's kind of fun, too. Yeah. So, bear with us on that a little bit. So, as it is today, Saturday, we have Time to Buy with Zach, and we have a special episode. We decided to do, last week we did all modern books, so this week we're doing all trending Copper Age books, and that was kind of fun, you know, trying to see some cool Copper Age games. So before we get into that, though, we did find an all-copper beer.
Oh, yes. It's delicious. Made in pure copper. No, this is Sierra Nevada Atomic Torpedo Juicy West Coast Dipper. I don't know what that
Juicy West Coast?
It sounds kind of weird. Anyways, that's what it looks like, guys, and this is what it tastes like. Oh, and there's 8.2% alcohol content. And as you well know, the 0.2, the first sip is the best part. Oh yeah, that's juicy. Oh, yeah. That's juicy, baby.
Alright guys, so how Time to Buy works with the games crew is actually Princess and myself, we go through a list of graded trending books and we pick out ones that we think are interesting that we either want to get Zach's opinion on, whether it's a good time to buy this book because it's trending right now, or you know, if it's just something that's trending for no reason. But I would think most things are trending for a reason, but Zach will give you his opinion on it. We'll kind of decide, you know, what we think about this kind of stuff. It's kind of fun. He's kind of at least the expert around here on graded books, because he has, as you guys have seen in some of our earlier shows, he has a lot of graded books. So let's kick it off. Let's get into it. Starting out the list, and I think actually we had all 5 of these books, so not all 5 of them were graded. We were graded, but we're talking about graded books here. So kicking off the list, we have Wolverine number 8 from 1989. This is cover art by John Buscema and story by Chris Claremont. This is just a flat-out, like, iconic, badass cover. You know, you got Wolverine, you got Hulk standing there in their white suits, like shoulder to shoulder, kicking it there together. Other important thing with this book is, you know, first Hulk as Joe Fixit. Actually, I have a question for the community. What's with the Joe Fixit thing? I feel like I could look it up and get, but sometimes I like to get your guys' answers on it. So if you have any thoughts on the Hulk Joe Fixit, I just didn't even know what that was all about. I always think of that political thing when I think of the Joe Fixit thing. But just side note on that. But cool thing about this book is actually the original art had them like the same height, and they had to like redraw it because I think Wolverine was like way too big. Yeah. Like the original one they drew actually had them like actually shoulder to shoulder, and they were like, hey, that doesn't work. Wolverine's tiny. You got to redraw this. But really cool book. And side note also, on the back cover is a sweet pin-up from Rob Liefeld, if you didn't know that, which is amazing. On the back is Rob Liefeld. Other side note on this, as we have learned, I think we have 3 of these in the house. It's only really, really expensive in a 9.8. I mean, 9.6 and has some good value to it, but in a 9.8 is when you got the real expensive. And if another also thing is, the newsstand almost is about double value, and you don't know if it's a newsstand unless you look at the back cover. So newsstand is on the back cover, not on the front cover on this book. But more importantly, how does Zach feel about this as a trending comic?
Well, now that I know of Rob Liefeld, the original artist on the back, I'm like, nah. It's not bad, but it's
he draws them really hairy, if I remember correctly.
Yeah. Ooh, so hairy. Okay. Yeah. So recent sales is $330 to $440. I believe that's right. And yeah, like Adam said, in the newsstand, it's like I think it's like 1,000.
Yeah, it's like double. Yeah.
Yeah. There's 868 of these in a CGC 9.8. 787 of them are universal. 80 of them are signature series. One is qualified, 0 restored. There's actually one 9.9.
Whoa.
That'd be amazing
Whoa.
to have. Lots of money. There's 2,691 graded books. So it's a little less than half of them are CGC 9.8s. I mean,
Actually, that would have been less than that.
I thought it would be less, but yeah, I mean, there's really no big key appearances. This is going to be always going to be a classic cover, so it's going to have its ups and downs. It's going to go up. It's like the Hulk 340, great cover, great classic cover, but not really a big key. So I would say, don't buy unless you just love that artist. If you're a big fan of the artist, Sal?
No, John Buscema.
John Buscema. If you're a big fan of the artist, then you probably want to get this book. Same thing with Meeking a Michael Turner book. It might not be something that has a long-term spec for the certain issue I want, but I'm a big fan of Michael Turner, so you have to get it.
It all comes back to Michael Turner.
Yeah. If you like the artist, get it.
Yeah, cool. But wait, we have, we've got 3 of them in the house right now, and I think we sold the graded one, so they're coming in and going. All right. Actually, these first 2 books were ones Princess picked out, so that was a Princess book. Next one is a Princess book as well, and you know how she loves that DC action. So we have Batman 497. This is from DC 1993. The Jim Aparo and Doug Moench were the creative group on this one, and more specifically, we're talking about the cardstock variant. So this is a variant of the regular one, has that cardstock overlay, which is kind of interesting. It's a weird, it's almost like newspaper that they put over the top of that, which is kind of crazy. But this is an important book because this is when Bane breaks Batman's back, and this is part of the part 11 of the Nightfall saga. And I actually remember getting these comics back in 1993 and reading them. I thought Nightfall was a pretty good read. I know DC was actually trying to go away from Bruce a little bit, with this storyline, and actually bring in, because in issue 500 is when Azrael comes back in and, kicks a little butt and kicks Bane's butt immediately after that. I thought Azrael looked cool back then. Looking back now, he looks super 90s and goofy, but, he's got like those crazy claws and stuff, like the weird extra claws. He was able to like tear stuff up with it. Cool book. Obviously 90s, so they printed like 1 million copies of this. So that's, and the variant one, I don't know the exact numbers, but from the price wise, the variant cardstock and the regular one are very similar in price. They're both around $15 books. So I'm assuming it's similar in printing. On a side note though, the Azrael does have a new book coming out. Sword of Azrael, it comes out next month. So he's coming back. You never know. I always see the Azrael #1 and the Sword of Azrael #1, like his first appearance, and they're not worth anything, but I'm like, I feel like they should be. He had so many books. But how does Zach feel about this book?
So recent sales is between $60 and $99. That's pretty inexpensive. There's 2 10.0s.
Whoa.
There's 9 9.9s. There's 2,672 CGC 9.8. 2,520 are universal, 119 are signature series, 31 are qualified, and not as surprising 2 are restored. That's such a crap.
Staple the cardstock back on.
It's probably some just kid color again. I want to send it in as my personal copy. There's 4,238 graded run. I mean, there's one instance where this book's going to go up. It's when Batman breaks his back, and you're again? Like, oh, again. Yeah. And then, like, okay, then it drops down again. I mean, it's cool to have. You'll find it on a dollar bin.
Yeah.
Just have it raw. Have a nice copy raw. You don't need a 9.8. Unless you're trying to get that raw. The only reason you want a 9.8 is...
the whole Nightfall run in 9.8?
Whole Nightfall run. If it's complete... Some people, not me except for, like, X-Men, like to have full runs of everything. I just like to have all the keys. Like to have full runs of it, except for the X-Men. I want a full run of that. But yeah, that's the only exception. You need to complete your run, get this book.
It'd be interesting to know how they grade that too, because with the cardstock overlay, like, do they look underneath it to see, how that looks and decide off the main cover, or do they grade you off the cardstock too? I don't know.
Well, they would have to grade you over the entire book, but books that inexpensive, they probably spend like a minute on it to grade it. The more expensive book, the more time you need to spend in grading it.
True.
So yeah, I wouldn't even get this book graded, honestly. Don't just throw it away unless you're trying to come to your rock.
You heard it here first.
Just throw it away.
All right. Okay. Next up, got one of my personal favorites here. You have Amazing Spider-Man 301 from 1988. This is obviously a Todd McFarlane cover and story by Dave Michelini. Awesome book. Look how cool that is. It's just a straight up classic cover. I don't think there's any other major significance in this book besides you have Spider-Man back in the original red costume, back on the cover since a number of years in the black costume, which is what I think Todd McFarlane wanted to do when he took over the run. He wanted to make sure he was back in the red costume. But just a cool book overall. I mean, it's like in a little ways like brilliant marketing because it's, you know, they do 300, which everyone loves, and then they do 301, which looks similar, and you have to have both. I mean, they got me. I was like, got 300. I'm like, I gotta get 301. You gotta get both of them. Then they did it to me again with Spawn. You got Spawn 300 and then Spawn 301. I had to get both of those too. So, you know, it's just kind of like that. Gotta collect them all kind of book. But just on a side note, there is a newsstand version that's worth more money. That's the newsstand there. It's also an incredibly hard book to get in a 9.8. It's kind of one of those, like, you know, damned if you do, damned if you don't things. You got a black cover, which is really hard. People say a white cover is easier, but then it turns out to be that they're harder as well. And if you're Zach, you know that there is a Toy Biz variant out there. And if you have it in a 9.8, it is worth a lot of money as well. But, Zach, how do you feel about the 301 in a graded?
Well, recent sales of a CGC 9.8 Direct. Oh, this doesn't make any sense. I must have wrote that down wrong. But it's $1,950 to $2,474.99. That's a pretty big range. So this is a very volatile book, but it sells for a high all the time. There's only 228 CGC 9.8s, 196 of them Universal, and 32 of them are Signature Series. And thank God no one tried to restore this or get it graded when it's already cited by Todd McFarlane before they got it graded.
Oh, okay.
So there's no qualifying. There's 4,759 graded total. So the chance of you getting a 9.8 in this book is super low. This is
I didn't realize it was that expensive in a 9.8. That's crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy. I would say, I mean, you're completing the run. Everybody should have one of these books. I'd probably just go for a make-get-rated copy, unless you're trying to get
9.6.
Or 9.6. 9.6 is like $150, $200.
I don't know if it's that low, but yeah,
it's pretty. Oh, okay, it might not be that low. But it's pretty dang low compared to the 9.8.
Yeah. Doesn't have that 50 ratio for sure.
There's no major keys in this. I mean, Silver Sable's in there. That's a plus, if I remember correctly.
Yep.
But if you get the 300, you might as well get the 301. Just you can get it raw or get a lower grade one, not 9.8, unless you got extra money flinging around, swinging. Yeah.
Cool. All right, cool book. All right, next up, we have Thundercats #1. This is really exciting. So you have Thundercats #1 from Star Comics, 1985. This is Jim Mooney artwork and also David Michelini story. So surprisingly did 301 and Thundercats. That just kind of randomly happened that way. But we'll do a run through the list of the first appearance because there's many. So first appearance of the team of the Thundercats, which is Lion-O, Cheetara, Panthera, Tigra, Wily Cat, and Wily Kit, plus Snarf, and Mum-Ra.
Mum-Ra, the ever living.
Yeah, Zach's favorite character of all time, Mum-Ra. So
like mummies.
This is one of the. This is kind of one of the ones that like started off that whole '80s nostalgia craze. This and Turtles are like the two big. Obviously, Turtles much bigger than this one, but this is one of the big ones. I'd say it's even bigger than He-Man a little bit, right? Yeah.
I would say so.
Yeah, bigger than.
Don't hate us.
Bigger than the He-Man. So a better story too. But this, you know, this has been getting really hot. They have a director attached. So the director for the new Godzilla and King Kong movies is now attached to do a Thundercats, I think, movie is what they're planning to do with this. But there's a lot of variants to keep in mind with this book. So you have the Thundercats multi-pack, which is the most expensive, which is a pre-sealed one that comes with books 1, 2, and 3, which I believe are all newsstand as well in the multi-pack. Then you have the newsstand version, which garnishes quite a bit more money than the direct. Then there's the Canadian variant, which is even which is more expensive, I think, than the regular one as well too. You have the second and third print, which are not nearly as much. They also have the 75-cent marker on there, so like kind of a good like to tell you which one is the. Has it Zach? Look, is it the 75?
Nope.
65. So 65 regular and 75 for the second and third print. So overall cool book. I can tell you my uncle back in 1985 bought 47 copies of this book, and he still has them. He's waiting to move them right now. So I know recently they were crazy expensive, like $1,400 in '98. Then they dropped below $1,000, and I think they're back on the rise. So Zach will be able to tell you. What do you think about Thundercats, Zach?
Oh, I think a lot.
He has some good thoughts on this book.
So Thundercats won recent sales of $800 to $999. I think $800 was just like a few weeks ago, and then the current sale is $999.
Mm-hmm.
That's really really cheap. I think for a 9.8. A newsstand sells for $1,351. There's 303 CGC 9.8s, 288 are universal, 15 are signature series, 0 qualified, 0 restores. There's only 1,951 graded total.
Wow.
Right? There's 13 9.8 Canadian prize variants and only 88 graded of the Canadian prize variant total.
Dude, we should be looking for that book.
And the second, third prints have less than 100 graded. Not 9.8, just 100, less than 100 graded.
Total. Wow.
Each one. So all of them. I would say go after the Canadian price variant. Newsstand would be nice. Even the second, third prints of these might garner a lot of money, because the third print probably has a very little print.
They're like $50-$60, I think, in raw, I believe, for those ones, yeah.
Buy this. If you have the cash, buy it in a 9.8. You'll make money.
Now's the time, yeah, because they were like $1,300 just a year ago or so, yeah.
At least buy a couple raw copies for $50.
Mm-hmm.
You'll thank me later.
Very smart. Very smart. Wise words from Zach. All right. Last book on the list, and definitely not least, we have Iron Man 282 from 1992. This is the Kevin Hoppengood and Len Kaminski as the creative group on this book. This is an interesting one. This one always threw me off until you dig deep into this and actually understand what this book is. It's an interesting book, but this is first cover appearance of War Machine armor worn by Tony Stark. So that's the thing. A lot of people get confused that this is the first appearance of War Machine, but it's the first cover, not even first appearance of the armor. It's the first cover appearance of the armor, and it's Tony Stark in the armor. So just to kind of lay it out there, the actual first appearance of the armor is in 281, and Rhodes doesn't even put it on until 284. Which is crazy. So Rhodey doesn't even put it on until 284, and Rhodes' first appearance is 118, which is a cool book actually.
Yeah,
that's
very
a
cool.
Very underrated book. 118, Iron Man 118. But out of all these books, this is the most expensive one. Out of all those ones, just randomly in there, and for good meaning, it's the best cover by far. It's iconic. It's awesome cover. Just a cool book to have. You know, you got Armor Wars coming out. Clearly, Rhodes is going to be, I would think, either him or Riri are going to be the main characters of that, depending on how they go with that. But it's when I first started collecting this, it was a little bit cheaper. It's easy to find one for $20 raw. Now it's a lot harder, and they got a lot more expensive. But Zach will give you some more information on grading them. How he feels about graded versions of this.
So, Iron Man 282. Recent sales for 9.8 is $414 to $549.99. So a little bit of a volatile book. It's a nice book. There's two 9.9s, 873 CGC 9.8s, 816 are universal, 57 of them are signature series, 0 restored, 0 qualified.
Nice.
There's 2,618 graded. Almost, it's about a third of a chance. You got 30% chance of sending in and getting a nice copy. As getting a 9.8. You kind of know what a nice copy looks like. They're interesting is there's actually a foreign variant, or not foreign variant, but there's a foreign comic printed, I think, like 4 or 5 months after the fact in Australia. And the only way you can tell the difference is that the price tag on the front of the book is $1.80. there's only 5 graded.
Whoa. Okay.
Only 5. Not 9. There's no 9/8, but there's only 5. There's only 5 graded total.
Wow. And there's still, because a lot of those foreign books are still considered first print too, so you gotta, yeah.
Yeah, this would be a first print. I mean, it's 5 months later, but it's so much rarer. I mean, if you guys go, down under and you find one of those
Our friend,
books,
I have a few issues.
oh yeah,
Keep an eye out, buddy.
That's a good point. If you find a couple, send them to us. Yeah, we buy them off of you, please. Thank you. Yeah.
Right on.
I would say at least get a raw copy. It's kind of, I don't know. Yeah, I have a personal copy. I like the character. I'd say it's probably your choice to get this book at this point. It'll go up in price a little bit, but for sure Thundercats. Thundercats is no brainer.
Ho! Right? All right, guys. So that wraps up Time to Buy. I think awesome, interesting list. I learned some important things I needed to know. So as usual, guys, if you did like the show, love the show, hit that subscribe button, hit the like button, hit the notification bell so you always know when new things are going down, because those live shows are coming at you Wednesday now, and we're not guaranteeing the time, so we'll see. It's just kind of how things flow for the day, but we'll be rolling that out. So just be on the lookout for when that happens. And when we go live, it's awesome if you guys can make it out, just because it's nice to have a little bit of interaction too. A lot of people were talking and chatting with us on the last one, and that was a lot of fun. It's nice to be able to talk with you guys back and forth live. So that's really cool. And leave a comment down below. Let us know what you guys think about Time to Buy, these books that we have picked out. And Zach, you got anything else?
Yeah, you gotta share. How do you do that? So you have to be, in control of this underground kind of world. Or below a bed kind of world. And all this stuff kind of happens, and all these kids come to your world. Now, if you stay too long, you become one of these monster creatures that hide underneath kids' beds. And you find out that one of the monsters is actually that Howie Mandel, and that's always tripped me out because he has hair, and I don't know, he looks. Once you see it, once someone tells you it, you never unsee it. It's like, that is Howie Mandel. What the heck? And you're the ruler, and you all get what you want, and your name's Boyd. And that's how you become one of the characters in Little Monsters.
It's a good movie. Makes that kid eat a sandwich full of cat food, doesn't he?
You eat the cat food. You eat it.
Yeah. Oh, and one more thing, Princess wanted to share with you guys. Don't forget, we have our exclusive is still available. Oh, she got one back there?
She got one.
She got one. So just message Princess on Instagram or leave a message on the show if you guys are interested. It's only $25. Good way to help out the show. Plus you get an awesome book. First cover appearance of Comic Gains in a comic book.
Woo!
Yeah. Draculina number 4. All right, guys. We love you so much. And until we see you next time, stay safe and remember.
Get those little big gains. Monster big gains.
I like that. Little big gains.
Little big gains.